Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Obviously, every single season here in Warzone 2 has a slightly different meta. Sometimes we see weapons drastically change and get way better or way worse. Sometimes we just see some weapons adjusted in some ways that make other ones a little bit less desirable. But overall, in this meta right now, with how the faster TTK affects certain guns, there's a lot of really competitive guns that are absolutely slept on in the overall meta. And today I wanted to focus on 5 weapons that are just super underrated. So we are starting first with a weapon that really is not picked a whole lot. I actually went and pulled the data from Warzone Ranked, which gives us an insight into the actual pick rate for every single gun in the game. And the Kastov 545, when I was making the stats for this video, only has a 0.4% pick rate. But when it comes down to it, it's got a relatively competitive TTK with the other rifles, and it's also super easy to use. This thing is one of the lowest recoil options in the game, so you can actually get away with using this at super long ranges and you're still gonna land shots and fry because of that, even though its damage is just kind of mid-tier, right? So initially here, AMOT V4, you're gonna see a whole lot of this today. We are of course always tuning for that furthest eye position and faster ADS, but if there is an optic that you are more comfortable with, whether it's a 3.4 times, whether it's a 4 times, whether it's a blue dot, a thermal, it doesn't matter, always use the optic you are the most comfortable with. For me, I go for the 45 round extended mag. You could also jump up to 60 though if you wanted to. There's never a wrong answer here. It's just a preference of more ammo and being a bit slower and less ammo and being a bit faster. I also run the high velocity ammo upgrade on here just to make it feel more consistent in the mid to long range. We tune for that better velocity and better damage range. I go for the K3406 barrel. This is like that 3-in-1 combo, velocity, control, and range. We also tune for even better range and better steadiness. That one was brewing for a minute there. And then lastly, I go for the Harbinger D20 suppressor. This is going to offer better velocity, better range, also a little bit better control as well. So definitely helping out a lot of clutch areas there for a mid to long range weapon. Of course, I tune for even better velocity, then also the slightly faster ADS speed here. Absolutely a slept on gun. I see a few of you guys gassing it in the comments here and there. You're certainly onto something. This thing can hold its own. People just don't realize it's as good as it is. Another weapon that somehow is slept on. When I was looking at the pick rate stats, I did not expect to see the Sakin MG38 at a 0.9% pick rate. Less than 1% of players are using the Sakin, and that's actually the highest pick rate on the video here today. Looking forward to these next couple of weapons, right? I mean, this thing is, in my opinion, the most reliable LMG. The RAL has a far better TTK, but it's got far worse recoil, right? This thing, really consistent TTK, also is super easy to use. The recoil here is next to none. You're going to be pointing, shooting, frying, right? It's a laser beam, so I was really surprised that this is as low of a pick rate as it is. I think it'll hopefully improve in the future, and maybe this video will help some too, because this is an LMG worth running, right? Here again, AMOT V4, standard stuff as always. I go for the Stip 40 rear grip. While this is already a super easy weapon to use, I'm gonna make it as easy to use as possible, so there's no worry of landing shots. It's gonna be just straight up frying. This is going to be, again, just better control in general. I tune for even better control and stability there. Now, I don't use high velocity. You certainly could, and if you wanted to, I'd recommend either dropping the Edge 47 underbarrel or the Stip 40 rear grip for that, just preference based. Edge 47 is obviously going to help out with some of that sway and make it a little bit more consistent there. I tune for the better stabilization and stability. Polar Fire S suppressor helping out with the velocity and the range, tuning for even better velocity and some better ADS speed. Then lastly, the 3-in-1 combo barrel, yet again with the Silver Series, better velocity, range, and control, tuning for even better range, and then some recoil control and steadiness there as well. This thing is a laser beam. More people should be using the Sakin. It can hold its own, it can fry, and it's straightforward as it gets. Now, a weapon that we've actually been talking about a bit recently is the STB, and curiously enough, this also is well worth falling on an underrated list because 0.8% of players are picking this, so even less than the Sakin. But this thing is a versatile rifle. Up close, it actually has some of the best time to kill options out of all the rifle class, right? If you're comparing it versus the other long range ones, because this build is meant for like mid to long range, but you're also caught in a position where you have it out close range, this is going to be your best choice, right? In the mid range, it thrives. Even over long range, it's right there with the best TTK options, as we've previously discussed. The magazine size does hold it back here some though. Only having 42 rounds with a slightly faster fire rate is going to mean that you have to reload a lot, and you can't always challenge the players you'd want to challenge in certain scenarios, but that's something you can learn to work with. You just have to master that aspect, right? AIM-OP V4 on here, yet again for the side position, faster ADS, high velocity ammo with the better velocity and range tunes. No underbarrel needed in this case. It's just that easy to use. The recoil is so non-existent, it seems like, that you can get away with just having it straight up as is. I also go for the rear guard barrel here. This is going to help out with range and velocity. Again, you don't have to go for a slower barrel for the control. If you wanted to, you could, but I find this setup to be totally sufficient. Lastly, I do go for the Harbinger D20, better velocity, better range, a little bit better control to help out some there. We're tuning for even better velocity and of course the better ADS speed as always. This is another one that I was really surprised is picked as little as it is, considering how lethal it can be in the right hands. Now, as we get into our final two weapons here today, quick reminder, if you guys are new to the channel, I'm your one-stop shop for all things going on in COD. News, updates, loadouts, tips, you name it, it's going to be all right here on a daily basis. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications to always stay up to date. And if you guys enjoy this video, if you find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it as well. Would be seriously appreciated, as it does really help the channel grow. Another weapon that actually is becoming better and better, it seems like, with every single update that 100% is slept on, the SO14. You flip this thing into fully automatic mode and you are going to fry in the close range and the mid range, and if you can handle it even in the long range, it's pretty impressive too. The pick rate here, 0.1%. No one is using the SO14. I think it's because they don't realize if you put it in full auto, it's going to be absolutely insane, especially like in the mid range is really where I'm building this weapon to thrive. This thing can do so well if you just learn how it behaves. There is a decent amount of recoil when you do have it in full auto, but if you can figure out that pattern, learn to engage with it over certain ranges, this thing's got a very, very strong upside. Again, AIM-OP V4, as always, no changes there. 50 round drum, when you have it in full auto, you are going to need that 50 round versus the 25. You will run out of ammo pretty quickly, especially if you're fighting multiple people at the same time in a squad fight. High velocity ammo just to make it feel a bit more consistent in the mid to long range. Better velocity, better range on those tunes. Ripper 56 underbarrel for the better stabilization and whatnot. We're tuning for even better stabilization and some better stability as well. Then lastly, I go for the Sakin Tread 40 just straight up for the control aspects here. Like I said, with that added recoil in full auto, this is certainly a big help in making it easier to use. I go ahead and I tune for that better gun kick and better stabilization as well. Arguably the most slept on weapon on this list because of how good it can be and how little it is picked. And then lastly here, I've got a weapon that curiously enough I talked about like in the first week of Warzone 2, and ever since then it's still been equally as good. It actually might have gotten a few buffs if I remember correctly. The EBR, this thing is a little bit more difficult to use. Its ammo count is certainly its main drawback here. You got to be really mindful of your ammo with this thing, but if you can consistently track, trace, and land shots on enemies, the EBR can and will fry as well, and it's only being picked by 0.2% of the player base right now. Now, that is somewhat understandable because the skill gap with this weapon is a lot higher than most, and players don't want to use a weapon that's hard to use if there's an easier option out there, even if that easier option is a little bit weaker in a lot of situations. The skill gap here is certainly daunting, but it's not something that's impossible. You can absolutely learn this weapon, and if you do, you're going to be feeling good with it. Now, for semi-auto guns, I love the 3.4 times optic. This is so perfect for mid to long range. We are again tuning for that furthest eye position and faster ADS. I go for the 20 round mag here. That is the max, and you are going to need all of it, so you definitely want to be running that. High velocity ammo just to make it feel again more consistent in the mid to long range. Better velocity, better range on the tunes there. I go for the Bore Master barrel. This is straight up better control and better velocity, so it's just going to make the weapon feel more reliable and easy to use. Better range and steadiness on those tunes. Then lastly, Polar Fire S. You could also jump up to like the Harbinger, whatever the equivalent is here as well if you wanted to, but this seems sufficient for me. Better velocity, better range, of course, with the better velocity and ADS tunes on that one. All of these weapons, but especially the EBR, have the added skill gaps. In certain cases, I mean, the Sakin, not really, but still underutilized. But the skill gaps here, I think, are the main factors in why some of these weapons aren't picked, but all of them absolutely slept on, absolutely underrated. You use any of these, you'll learn how to maneuver, you learn how to engage with them, and you're going to be frying, and people are going to realize, wait, I just died to an SO14, I just died to an EBR, I just died to an STB. I thought that gun was trash. In reality, they're not. They're just overlooked, right? So that is going to wrap things up for this video. If you guys enjoyed, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. That way you'll always know whenever I upload a new video. You can always stay up to date with all things going on in MW2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.